A new world requires new laws. Wow, that line, it just sort of hangs there, doesn't it?
It really does. Or the other moment, the sheer panic of, we have to choose a person to die.
Exactly. Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your source material and really dig into it.
Get those insights.
Yeah. And today, we are diving straight into Chapter 4 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, using the material you sent us as our guide.
And those lines really set the tone right away. My first impression of this chapter, it's just how brutally efficient it is.
Efficient? How so?
At tearing down everything you thought was stable. The tension is just electric right from the start.
Yeah.
And the speed at which reality just crumbles and gets replaced by something completely unforgiving. It's unsettling.
Unsettling is a good word. It feels almost clinical, like here are the real rules now. Deal with it.
Precisely. A very stark introduction.
Absolutely. So speaking of those rules, before we really, dissect the implications, could you give us the quick version? The main events of Chapter 4 based on the source.
Sure thing. Okay, so it kicks off with the listener, Kim Dokcha, finally opening that TXT file of Ways of Survival.
The one he just received.
Right. And bam, the system kicks in. Confirms he gets an exclusive attribute, unlocks a skill slot.
Oh, okay. So he gets something.
He does, but here's the catch. He immediately finds out he can't actually see what they are. The attribute window is locked for him.
Okay. A little snag.
A significant one, maybe. Then, as he starts reading the novel again, the dread sets in.
Because?
The words on the page are describing what's happening right now around him. He matches details to carriage 3707, the one ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Then the hammer drops. The text explicitly says that in the original story, only 2 people survived his carriage, 38007.
2 out of everyone there.
2. That knowledge, straight from the book he just opened, tells him almost everyone around him is slated to die.
That's heavy.
Extremely. And then the scene in his carriage, 3807, it just descends into chaos. This young guy, Kim Nam-woon, he brutally attacks an old woman, starts proclaiming someone has to die for the rest to live, and that's when he drops the line, a new world requires new laws.
Chilling. And the crowd.
Fear, confusion.
Yeah.
And Nam-woon pushes them, influences them. They start turning on the grandmother, too.
Oh, man.
He's saying as she looks like she wants to step in, driven by compassion.
Does she?
No, the listener stops her, tells her straight up, you're not the protagonist, you'll die. It's brutal pragmatism.
Wow, okay.
Then, just as it looks hopeless, boom, explosion from carriage 3707.
The protagonist's carriage.
Exactly. The listener knows this is the signal. The events from the novel are starting. So he acts, uses his knowledge from Ways of Survival. He confronts Nam-woon in the crowd, reveals the actual scenario condition isn't kill a person, kill one or more living things. He spots a kid's bug net, grabs a grasshopper.
No way!
Yes. Uses it to show completing the first kill, gets coins for it, then releases the other bugs, gives the terrified crowd another option.
An alternative target. That's clever. Incredibly fast thinking.
Under immense pressure, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack that. His knowledge from the novel. It's everything here, isn't it? What's going through his head. How does knowing the future help him, but maybe also hinder him in this moment?
It's this constant back and forth in his mind, isn't it? Between the story he read, detachedly, and the absolute horror he's now in.
Right.
When the system messages appear, it's like, okay, confirmation, this is that world. But then, reading the fate of Carriage 3807 in the same novel, that confirmation turns terrifying.
Knowing only 2 survive.
Yeah, knowing that puts this immense weight on him. It's not just information, it's like seeing death sentences. The source even mentions his hands shaking, his breath shaking before he steps in.
So it's a burden.
A massive burden. But it's also his only edge, really. Everyone else is panicking, misinterpreting the rule as kill a person.
Because Nam-woon basically tells them that.
Exactly. But the listener remembers the precise wording. Living things, that tiny detail changes everything. It's the loophole.
The grasshopper solution.
It lets him see past the immediate horror and find another way. Recalling that specific detail under that kind of pressure, that's what saves people.
But you mentioned a hindrance, besides the, psychological weight.
The attribute window being inaccessible, that's big. He knows he gains something potentially useful, an attribute, a skill.
But he has no idea what it is.
None. He's flying blind in terms of his own new capabilities. He has this incredible foresight about the plot, the rules.
Like a map of the future.
Right. But he doesn't know what tools he personally has in his backpack right now. Makes his intervention feel even riskier.
That's a really sharp distinction. Perfect foresight, but incomplete self-knowledge. Very precarious. Now, Thinking about the other people, beyond the listener, who else really steps into the spotlight or reveals something crucial about themselves here?
I mean, Kim Na-moon, right, has to be. His actions aren't just random cruelty.
No, it feels deliberate.
It is. That line, "A new world requires new laws," it's not just an excuse. It's his thesis statement for this new reality. Survival of the fittest, discard the old ways.
And he goes straight for the grandmother, the most vulnerable.
Instantly, no hesitation, establishes dominance through fear and cruelty. And what's really disturbing is how well it works on the crowd.
He manipulates them.
Totally. Uses their fear, twists the scenario's ultimatum, and makes them complicit. It's like the rapid formation of a new, brutal social order.
Led by someone who just gets the cruelty immediately.
And embraces it. He's the first real human antagonist we see who's born from this new world, thriving on it. It sets a terrifying benchmark.
Definitely. What about others? We saw glimpses.
Yeah, quick but telling glimpses. Han Young-go tries briefly to intervene.
The manager.
Yeah, but he backs down fast.
Right.
Shows how quickly old authority crumbles. Then there's Lee Han-sung.
Who the novel said survives this carriage.
Right, but here, he's got trembling fists, a lost look. He's frozen. Shows a conflict, maybe someone meant to be heroic, but just overwhelmed by the reality.
Interesting. And Yusanga.
Her instinct is pure empathy. Shouldn't we stop this? She wants to help.
But the listener stops her.
Yeah, telling her it's basically suicide.
Yeah.
It starkly highlights how kindness itself is suddenly a massive liability. Each reaction paints a different part of the picture of how people cope or don't cope.
It really does. You see the whole spectrum emerge instantly. Now, ORV is famous for planting seeds, you know, Chekhov's guns everywhere. Did anything in this chapter feel like that? Like a small detail that's going to blow up later?
Oh, absolutely. This chapter is definitely setting things up. Two things really jump out.
Okay.
First, the most obvious one, the line in the novel text itself. Only Lee Han-sung and Kim Na-moon survived in that carriage.
That's pretty direct foreshadowing.
Extremely direct. It's the original outcome.
Yeah.
Now, the listener has potentially changed that, for this moment at least.
Right. He saved more people.
But the fact that this was the written fate, it heavily implies those two characters are majorly significant one way or another. And it shows the listener's already diverging from the script he knows.
Trying to rewrite the story he's in. Okay, what's the second thing?
It's the insect net, the child's collecting net.
Seems so minor at first.
Exactly. In the old world, just a toy, right? Innocence,
Yeah.
Curiosity.
Yeah.
But here, it becomes the literal tool for survival. The grasshopper inside is the key to exploiting the system's rule.
Huh. Yeah, I see that.
It feels significant because it suggests survival might depend on finding value in unexpected things. Leftovers from the old world, maybe? Or just understanding the new rules in creative ways. It turns the mundane into something vital.
Needing creativity, not just brute force. That's a great point. Finding the extraordinary in the ordinary wreckage. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. The universe itself. What new rules, what new info did we get about the star stream, the scenarios, the Dokubi, the whole setup in Chapter 4?
This chapter nails down some crucial basics. Number one, the exact clear condition. Kill one or more living things.
Foundational.
Absolutely. It confirms the rules are literal, specific, and demand death. Sets the brutal baseline. And, crucially, confirms living things isn't just humans.
The loop.
The loophole. Then, we get confirmation of rewards. The first kill achievement, it grants compensation. 100 coins.
Ah, so there's an economy.
Seems like it. Coins are clearly going to be important. Survival, progression, who knows. But they're a tangible reward for meeting conditions.
Okay, what else?
The holographic screens, showing live video of people dying all over the country.
That was chilling.
Major world building. It tells us this isn't just isolated incidents, it's global, and it's being broadcast.
Like a show.
It raises that question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are the Dokubi just running things, or are they performing for someone? It makes the whole thing feel like a gruesome spectacle.
Yeah, less like a test, more like entertainment. Did we learn anything more about the Dokubi themselves?
Not directly seen, but their authority is clear. The listener refers to what the Dokubi calls the first murder and wonders if what the Dokubi says is true. They're the rule makers, the enforcers. Unseen for now, but their influence is everywhere.
Got it. And lastly,
The system messages about exclusive attribute and skills. Just getting the file triggers this. It confirms survivors aren't just facing challenges. They're being changed, gaining abilities.
so the players are leveling up, basically.
In a sense, yeah. It adds another layer to everything, how they interact with the world and each other.
Okay, so we've got precise, Deadly rules, coins as rewards, a global death broadcast, unseen rule makers, and personal power-ups. That's a lot for one chapter.
It throws you right into the deep end.
No kidding. All right, let's put on the speculation hats. Based only on what we saw in Chapter 4, what theories are bubbling up? What might be coming next?
Okay, pure speculation.
Yeah.
Strictly Chapter 4. We saw how fast that crowd switched from attacking the grandmother to scrambling for bugs, right?
Yeah, the second they had another option.
So maybe future scenarios lean into that. Will hunting insects or other small creatures become like a core survival tactic? Could we see conflict over, patches of bugs? Sounds weird, but the instinct was strong.
Huh. Resource competition, but for bugs. Interesting. What else?
This one's maybe a bit darker. The chapter really hammered home how fast morality collapsed. The lynching attempt, Namween's influence.
It was brutal.
The listener's bug trick was a temporary fix. But the text mentions the horror in their eyes, lingered even after that. The impulse to turn on each other, to sacrifice others, it was woken up in that carriage.
You think it's still there?
I wonder, could the very next challenge, especially if bugs aren't around, see that darkness resurface immediately? Force them to confront that new law within themselves again? Seeds implanted,
That is, plausible. And chilling. Okay, before we wrap this deep dive, if you had to pick one quote from Chapter 4, the most impactful, the one that sums it all up, what would it be?
Tough choice. That choose a person to die hits hard initially. But for the chapter's core theme, I think it has to be Kim Nam-woon's line. A new world requires new laws.
Yeah, that one stuck with me too.
It's more than just dialogue. It's the mission statement for this whole brutal shift. Collapse of the old, abandonment of morality, embrace of this raw survival logic. It perfectly captures the harsh reality they've been thrown into. Sets the tone completely.
A new world requires new laws. A stark principle for a terrifying new start. Wow. This deep dive really shed light on how fast things changed, how stark the choices became just in this one chapter.
It's a pivotal one for sure.
So what about you listening in? What stood out most to you from Chapter 4? Did you catch any details, any implications we didn't cover?
We'd love to hear your theories too, based just on this chapter's events.
Absolutely. Let us know. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep thinking about the information you encounter. Until next time.